born from the finest single malts and grains, blended to be smooth with a warm amber glow, admired by men and women all over the world. I'm not one of these things. I'm all of these things. Mellow, rich and generous. Because blended is better in life and in Scotch. Chivas, blended Scotch whisky.
Drink responsibly, not for sale to persons under 18 years of age, not recommended for pregnant women. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Taleje o taleni o wa bu taleni ani waye kone eja o waye kone ani waye kone eja o waye kone taleje o taleni o wa taleni ani waye kone Hello, good evening and welcome to this edition of Good Evening and a special welcome to you, Mr. Echo Bryant, one of our famous viewers on Facebook. A very special welcome to you. Special welcome to you also, Alhaji Tanko from Tamale in the Northern Region, one of our greatest supporters. And a special welcome to you also, Selassie Agbenyo from the Volta region, one of also our greatest viewers. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, we do have a well-anticipated program, and I'm delighted that you have enjoyed the promo that we have put on the NAPO files. The NAPO files is one of the things we are introducing in an election year. We're going to sit with a politician for hours upon hours and get into his mind, get into his politics, get into his philosophy, and over several Good Evening Ghana programs will be showing it. We're beginning with the NAPO files. It was exciting, and soon I'm going to put up an article about the behind the scenes and how he welcomed us to his home on Saturday and how we got to spend the entire Saturday. By the time I was leaving his home, it was almost 11 p.m. And all the crew, we had such a delightful event. We spoke for at least 5 hours, and he told us basically everything. Part one of that is airing tonight as part of Good Evening Ghana. Also, if you have seen our poster on Good Evening Ghana's official page, Good Evening Ghana Official, we have advertised that we will be making commentaries about the post-reaction to that famous editorial that we carried out last Thursday. And then there is another commentary to be made about an allegation or an accusation of sorts. A very simple commentary to make on that one. Nothing to be worried about. Good evening once again. Welcome to the show. My name is Paul Adom-Otchere. Now, tonight, I do have several things to do, as I said. But the first one is something that I have to read. I do not often read material on this program because of the nature of the interviews that we carried out. So we're trained that when you're going into an interview, you go with only one question and try as much as possible and let the rest be follow-up questions. So what we write here is not to read verbatim, but it is usually to refer to. But tonight I read, and this is the first comment that we are making on the post-editorial commentary. After the editorial that we carried out, there has been many comments, and viewers have reached us in many dimensions. Politicians have reached us, businessmen have reached us, some have celebrated it, some have not been happy about aspects of the work. And so we would like to explain what happened. Last Thursday, and with your permission, I read. Last Thursday, we carried out an editorial on this program. Editorials are thought leadership exposures, and they are either to share research findings on current affairs or to provide an antithesis to an existing thesis or an existing theory. Last Thursday on Good Evening Ghana, we carried out an editorial which was an antithesis to a situation, and editorials are usually pre-recorded here on this program. They are pre-recorded so that we are able to examine them. And so last Thursday was no different. But after the examined version, a press statement has been released by the Honorable Member of Parliament, about whom we carried the editorial. So I ran sufficient commentary on the press statement that had been released. And the commentary was a reprimand of the Honorable Member of Parliament. During the reprimand against the statement that was issued by the MP, information and available video shows that I had been carried away by emotions. And so the reprimand was carried out in an emotional manner. Viewers say that when I get emotional, they can't even hear what I'm saying. And some were asking me how much water I got to drink after the event. Carrying out a reprimand against the MP emotionally could have been better so that viewers can hear me. And I promise you, next time there's an editorial and there's a reprimand against an MP, it will be better. The reprimand was carried out emotionally, and the words that were used and the way in which it was communicated could have been better. And I promise that next time we carry out an editorial, even if a statement has just come in, the reprimand would be better. It will not be emotional. Thank you. There is another comment to make, which is also one of the, came out last Thursday, and we'll be making that comment very soon. It was about an allegation or an accusation of sorts that we'll talk about in a minute. But this weekend, the news has been upbeat about COVID-19. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, in his broadcast on Sunday, lifted the lockdown, which is to say the restrictions to movement. He allowed people to go to work, those who have to, and he allowed people to go to town. However, he maintained the ban on large groupings like churches and mosques. This afternoon, he has been meeting with the religious leaders and and our Lord's spiritual at the Jubilee House, and he's been trying to get ideas from them about when to actually completely open the country. There's been several conversations about it, whether the lockdown was correct or that it was wrong. We stumbled upon an article that gave information from one perspective, I have to say, and we by no means endorse everything in the article, but we'll share with you right now very quickly, just before we go to our second commentary position tonight on explaining some allegations that have been leveled, also as a sort of fallout to the event. Now, this article is as follows, and we put out here, the guy gave 21 reasons why he feels that the lockdown should be lifted. He says, in my considered view, the lifting of lockdown restrictions is a good decision. To find out why the restrictions have been lifted, we need to understand why it was put in place in the first place. We're going to look at 21 reasons very quickly. Reason number one, he says, it was not because Ghana had recorded a case. That is half truth. It was because Ghana needed to understand the spread and get a grip on where it spreads. And where it spreads is called mapping. Okay, we move on to the second reason. Reason number two he gave, we're doing 21 of them and we'll be done very shortly. Reason number two is that, has the government done that? It's reasonable to say it has. We have tested over 57 contacts, the second highest in Africa. Now, this has come up for controversy, this 57 testing, because yesterday on CTTV during the program Point of View, Professor Adom-Otchere, the very respected pathologist and politician, is reported to have made a statement doubting the data that the government has been submitting. That's a very, very serious matter. And that's what happened, and it's been quoted all over the place. So 57,000 contacts traced. Now, the issue is that the Noguchi Memorial Institute must come out to answer the question as to whether 57,000 is only samples or that 57,000 is 57 isolated different individuals. The scientists are telling us that it may be samples, and 2 samples may belong to 1 person because people are tested twice. We don't know what it is. However, we still celebrate the government for being able to get out there, grab people and test them. Let's look at reason number 3. Reason number 3 of this report says that Algeria has over 2,500 infections. Do you know how many people they have tested? An incredulous 3,000. He says, let me not even mention Nigeria. Africa is unofficially, I don't want to say that because I don't agree with that. Nigeria is not a failed state. Okay, number 4 says, so the government meant as far as objective 1 and 2 of the strategy are concerned, have gotten a hold of the virus. We are ahead of the virus. Well, that's his view, but that's a view that is subject to a lot of analysis. Whether we are ahead of the virus or not is actually subject to a lot of analysis. We are not clutching straws like Ecuador with bodies lined up in the streets and 100 workers resigning. Let's go to reason number 5. Reason number 5 that he gives is that, and so he says we are ahead of the virus. So what the government has done is like a housemaster suspecting some students who have fled home without proper permission. So what does he do? He issues a roll call to find out those who escaped campus without exit. This is what he's saying. This is very interesting if it's true. He says that the Ghana situation is like a housemaster who's looking for some students, and he does a roll call so he can isolate those students who have gone out without exit, and they can be distinguished from those who are on campus. Reason number 6. Reason number 6, he says, is during a roll call, you stand by your bed. Restricted movement, stay at home style. Okay, that's interesting. Now that we know 34 students have abandoned post, do we keep everyone standing by their beds before they return to campus? No. That's very interesting. So he says that you stand by your bed, and now we have the people standing by their beds. We know those who are not there. Should they still stand on their bed? Let's go to reason number 7. So reason number 7 is that that's exactly what the government has done. Okay, let's go to reason number 8. Reason number 8 is in 1 month since coronavirus entered Europe, mass graves have been dug and bodies are kept in wardrobes and chairs. He's trying to say that's not happening in Ghana since 1 month since coronavirus entered Ghana. Let's go to reason number 9. Reason number 9 is that with 1 month of coronavirus in Ghana, only 2 patients have been put on a ventilator. Majority of the infected are mildly ill, and the recoveries have been growing by leaps and bounds. Okay, let's move to reason number 10. And in reason number 10, he says, the virus, therefore, did not hurt us as much as it hurt our economy. That's also very, very interesting because President Akufo-Addo is being accused by his opponents that he is doing this because of the economy. And he had said that he knows how to bring back an ailing economy, but he doesn't know how to bring back lives. So they are alleging that President Akufo-Addo may be contradicting himself. Is that true? I don't know. Reason number 11, it says, removing the restrictions sounds a cautiously responsible thing to do, and we have to give the president the benefit of the doubt. Reason number 12. Reason number 12 is as follows, that in Europe, 1 month after infections, the country's health sectors, Italy, Spain, UK, have crippled devastatingly. Bodies lie outside in the open in the United States. Reason number 13. Reason number 13, he says that, but the people with 9 deaths, about 1.9% of the total infections, want to still stay at home. Okay, he doesn't agree with staying at home. Let's move on to reason number 14, and we have to run through very quickly. Reason number 14, but the people with 9 deaths, about 1.9 of the total infections, want to stay at home. We've done that already. Let's go to 15, please. Reason number 15 is the presidents all over the world are in a difficult place. In our case, he has to make a decision considering health, education, economy, politics, life, death, and a crushingly difficult lockdown. So the president, he says, is making the case one way or the other, looking at these indices. Reason number 16. Now, 16 says as follows. The decision-making is not as simple as choosing to fire the PPA boss, ABAJ, who formed his own company to award government contracts to the highest bidder. We do not associate with this particular reason, and we will not be held responsible for it because we know that this is a matter that's a sub judice, is being looked at by Shraj, and so the analogy of ABAJ is totally incorrect because we don't know whether ABAJ will come out differently or not. So that analogy we don't associate with. 17, but he has decided and has given directives on social distancing and mask wearing in the public. Now, we also have to challenge this one a little bit. The president encouraged people to wear the mask, but no actual directives were given. There were no compulsory directives given relating to wearing of mask. Okay, let's look at reason number 18. Reason number 18 is that we need to follow these directives and still what did I say? We need to follow these directives and still give the government the benefit of the doubt. Okay, fair enough. He's urging people to follow the government directive. Let's come up to the next one. These are not normal times, and our politics need to show we really these are not normal times, he says, and our politics need to show we rally around the president and demand accountability in peace times. Okay, reason number 20, last but one reason, the penultimate one. In World War I and II, the nations rallied around and opposition politics sought to look for guns to join the fight than to look for press conferences to bash. Okay, he's probably advising the position. Reason number 21, which is the last one. Let's tone down and wait for the day of accountability because it will surely, surely come. That is one view on the president's COVID-19 lockdown release. If you have another view and you would like us to air it on this program, you can send it to our Facebook page or you can send it to me directly. My number is very commonly known and I'm usually on WhatsApp, so I will see it. If I don't see it, Richard Lai will see it. If Richard Lai doesn't see it, Tarek will see it. If Tarek doesn't see it, Akosua will see it. If Akosua doesn't see it, Bosompra will see it. If Bosompra doesn't see it, Jones will see it. So you can send to any of us and we will pay attention to it. Today we're going to give you a beautiful musical show by a medical doctor who has put up a COVID-19 song, but it will come on Thursday. Okay, now we have to get into serious matters again. We have to explain some matters from Facebook, internet, etc., where an accusation has been made. We'll get to that in a minute. But those of you who are just joining us, we have already told the viewers who are watching that we are beginning a new segment of a program today. It's about elections and election year. Whilst there's lockdown and people cannot gather for a large gathering for political parties, we know that soon we'll be entering the month of May. What we're going to be doing is to pick up some politicians, and you can suggest some to us, those that you want to know really about them. We pick up some politicians and we sit with them for hours. We record many things, and then we'll serialize it, and it will be part of the segments of Good Evening Ghana. We're beginning tonight with a long serialization of the Minister for Education, Honorable Matthew Poku Prempeh. They call him NAPO. Tonight's part one is about Ministry of Education's response to COVID-19. We put up a promo earlier today, and some people enjoyed it. For some of you who are not on Facebook, here is a promo. So last weekend, we visited with the Minister for Education, the Honorable Matthew Poku-Prempeh. They all call him NAPO.
Bachelor's in medicine, bachelor's in surgery. I didn't do dentistry. When I finished, I went to do a master's in epidemiology. When I finished, I went to do surgery in UK, where I became a member of the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Glasgow.
So we have spent about 5 hours talking to him on various issues. We spoke to him about his ministry's preparedness for COVID-19.
If we can get out of COVID, whereas other countries have not, we can engage by to do a Ghana exam. The exit should affect everybody. University of Ghana should find a way of exiting.
Yes.
The only university that is doing three terms is UDS. How do they complete their year?
Given the political person that he is, we also found time to talk about election 2020 and the voters register. But they are saying that this is the register that brought you into power. Why do you want to change it?
Is it MPP who wants to change the register? When the NDC was in power and they did the constituencies and the new register, is it NDC that did the register? If NDC did, why did John Mahama then tell Ghanaians that the Electoral Commission is independent, leave them to their work? In 6 months after President John Evans Attabil's death, we broke the bank $4.3 billion to win an election. We spent outside the budget and our appropriation.
And then we discussed his political philosophy. Famous guy was distributing.
The lady
was distributing.
Yes.
Are you referring to John Dumelo?
I don't know him.
You don't know John Dumelo?
No.
John Dumelo is a very famous actor.
Yeah, I don't watch films, thank God.
Famous across Africa.
I don't watch
He's
films.
the NDC parliamentary candidate for Ayawaso West. Yes, okay. John Dumelo.
Okay. Why? Did he get one of the free cars? He's the only president whose whole tenure was shadowed with doom song. It got worse.
But the lights are still going on.
Is that the doom song?
In the president's, it's not the same. It's not the same. But in the president's sessional address, he said doom song was out.
You see,
the same day, Fadama went off.
Fadama went off. Was it something that we were sequencing across the country?
And then we discussed his personal philosophy. We found time to speak also about free SHS in a very big way. We asked him why he's not using John Mahama's e-blocks. And during the conversation about education, we asked him the very sensitive question about high-paying private secondary schools, especially in Accra and Kumasi, and the situation about their school fees, given that the children are now learning from home.
Some schools pay $10,000 a term or more a term in this Accra. So if the school uses 90% of the resources in paying teachers, and when the teachers are on vacation or break because of COVID, the teachers are still being paid. The parent protesting that because the child is being taught virtually, I should pay 50%, is saying that the school should cut that teacher's salary by 50%.
From the education bit, we brought him back to his parliamentary career. And then we asked him about the controversial issue. Did he take money from Get Fund as minister?
I would never mention names, but I can rattle lots of names of people from all these units that have approached Get Fund for support.
So all of this 5-hour interview will be coming to you this week, next week, and the next as exclusive parts of Good Evening Ghana.
I've worked under Nanado, and I can tell you, the leadership that has been exhibited in this time of crisis puts him far over and above every thought I've ever had.
His leadership in the COVID-19 has put him...
Leaders are made at particular events in history.
And you think that he has distinguished himself in this one?
Exemplary. I started by saying I have a background in epidemiology. So I've observed our meetings and what is going on. Even in times of crisis, his ability to allow debate
within the meetings,
and how he's shared it with a firm grip but a fair opportunity for everyone to exercise. I would want him to be my president anytime too.
What do we call it? We call it the NAPO Files, coming soon on Good Evening Ghana. What was your nickname in school?
I had no nickname in school.
Why did they call you NAPO?
It started from home. I'm called Nanapoku.
Okay.
And you know that I can't have a way of never pronouncing your full name.
Like how? So Nanaya is what?
So Naya.
They have a way of shortening it because they speak quickly.
All that kind of
So
language.
Kumenu is what?
Kumenu.
Oh, I see. So Kofi Boache is what?
Kubwachi. Ask. It's a common thing in the Akan language. Very, very common.
I see, that's interesting.
Very, very common.
So Nyantetua is what?
Yako, Yar and Yao and things like
So
that.
Efia Nyantetua is what? How do they say it?
I'm putting you on the spot. But they have a way.
And there was a lot more. He told us about how he wanted to be Bantama MP, which he didn't end up being. He told us about that. He also told us about his heritage and why he can never be Asante Hene and his relationship with Otumfuo and all of that. He also told us about the tertiary education bill that's before Parliament, the bill that said the government wanted to remove vice chancellors and control vice chancellors. He told us about that. We talked about teachers' licensure exams, the controversy surrounding it. We talked about the new curricula and how people in class 2 were going to take a global exam, a universal exam within Ghana. They'll take it also in class 6 and take it also in class 4. And we talked about elections and voters register. So much in 5 hours. Tonight, we'll show you part 1 of it, which is about the Ministry of Education's response to COVID. You should listen to that because if your child is a JSS candidate, you should be interested, or if your son or daughter is an SSS candidate. And incidentally, this year is the first year that the first-year beneficiaries of the free SHS are graduating into university, and then we have COVID. The universities cannot exit. What's going to happen? He went as far as suggesting that there may be a national service policy to keep them around as it was before. So after SS3, you can have national service. But he was hoping that they could take an exam and the universities could participate. Many metrics we discussed about that. So if your child is caught in or your nephew or niece is caught in, stand by. That's coming up on Good Evening Ghana. The first part of the NAPO series is coming up tonight right here on the show. Whilst we were watching Facebook and seeing people's commentary on the editorial the other time, we saw one particular comment that does not too much delight us because comment is free, but facts are sacred. As you know, in journalism, comment is free, but facts are sacred. So that when people put up facts, they ought to be responsible for it, and they ought to put up the facts entirely. And as media houses, if we cover an event or a story that raises facts against another person, it's always incumbent on us to give the other person the opportunity and the right to be heard. Adom-Otchere patem is what the lawyers call it. But we have seen widespread publications of facts that have been put out that are untrue. It is time to respond to it. Here is our response. And now there's another matter that appears to be a bit more serious than the first one. Whilst conversations were going on about this editorial and people were expressing their opinions, an allegation was made, a very big, major accusation was made. The accusation was made by someone whom you all know, and he said that I had lied upon him or something like that. It seems quite personal, but just have to say, without saying much, I just have to say that it's not true. That allegation is totally untrue, and it comes out of a discussion. It comes out of a story that I will render to you in a minute, and I have to say also that many of you are seeing that for the first time because nobody has been told about that story. There was no point of telling anybody about that story because actually there was no accusation. So the story is that this investigative journalist who was investigating the Jospon group of companies requested as part of his investigation to see the chief executive of the Jospon group of companies. That request was granted, and I was called to be in that meeting. So, and other people were called to be in the meeting as well, so that it will be a transparent meeting and the discussion can be fruitful. So we arrived for the meeting, and he was also, of course, the meeting was requested by him. But when he arrived, he sort of said something new. He said he wanted to have the meeting exclusively with the leader of the group, with the chief executive of the Jospon group, the investigative journalist who was investigating the matter and who has published this about us, said that he wanted to have a one-on-one meeting. He didn't want a meeting with all of these people in the meeting. He didn't want other people who had been invited to be in the meeting. He wanted the meeting to just be between him and the Jospon group of companies leader. He wanted a closed-door meeting. So yes, that request was also granted. So the rest of us sat outside. The meeting occurred. It was a very short meeting. He came out. He didn't say much. And then I called him up, and I said that. First, I told one of his colleagues. Then I called him up, and I said that, since you left the meeting, there are rumors that you had made certain demands on the man that you met. And he said to me that is not true. I said, well, no problem. But this is what I've heard. I told him, and I told one of his colleagues that he mentions in the story. Because he didn't mention his or her name, I cannot mention his or her name. I don't want to do that. But I told two people, him and that guy. And then he called me back and asked me, and that he has published in the article, the text messages, so you can see it. He called me and asked me that this money that I was talking about is $100,000 US. I said to him, I don't know. I don't have any figure. He first mentioned 100,000. I heard it from him for the first time. I don't have any figure. I don't know anything about the figure, but I heard that he had made some request upon the man. So that was how the conversation ended. I mean, how this comes up 3 years later in the comments about an editorial about a member of parliament relating to the sharing of COVID-19 food, I don't understand. I just can't understand how this matter comes up. But this is the beginning and the end of the story. That's what happened. So I told he himself and another colleague. I didn't tell anyone else. I didn't publish it on any platform. I didn't write it on Facebook. I didn't write it on Twitter. So to say that I've lied about him publicly, really? I don't know. But this is the fact of the matter. This must be a figment of his own imagination, this so-called lie. But this is the story. He requested a single exclusive meeting. The meeting occurred. And I told him that fallout of the meeting is that they said you had made a request. He denied that to me, and I believe him. No problem. He came back with a figure. I don't know anything about the figure. And I said, I don't know. So that's the end of the story. As they say, nothing more useful to add to the story. But you know, him and I have a favorite song, and I'm sure you viewers know that. So as we get ready, as we end this part and we are going into the other part of Good Evening Ghana, get your dancing shoes on. And this one is a song that you have to dance to. For him, the accuser, it is Zangalewa.
They tell me I'm just a whiskey, but I'm more than that. I'm a blend. Born from the finest single malts and grains, blended to be smooth with a warm amber glow. Admired by men and women all over the world. I'm not one of these things. I'm all of these things. Mellow, rich and generous. Because blended is better in life and in Scotch. Shivas, blended Scotch whiskey.
Drink responsibly, not for sale to persons under 18 years of age, not recommended for pregnant women. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
There is 1 million excitement in the air, and Sapper just tapped into the mood with his share of waste bin from the 1 million waste bin project.
1 million waste bin project?
It is a nationwide social intervention project aimed at helping improve the lives of people by correcting poor sanitation practices and improving solid waste collection service delivery in Ghana by providing 1 million radio frequency identity tagged free waste bins.
Radio frequency identity tagged waste bins? This will enable monitoring of how often the waste bins are emptied in real time. Wow!
From your homes, offices, schools, hospitals, right through to places of worship. Yeah, baby.
How and where do I sign on?
Our branded registration and distribution officials will come along with their ID cards to register and distribute waste bins to all households. Just provide them with your name, contact number, house number, and digital address. Once signed on, you'll be introduced to your zone's designated waste collection service provider who will collect your waste on agreed days of the week.
Wait, is it free?
Yes, of course. The waste bins are free. You would, however, be required to pay a token as a registration fee at the point of registration and a monthly subscription fee as communicated by your service provider. Payment for such services can be done through mobile cash payments, short code *887*87# or through all Ecobank branches and payment platforms nationwide.
Oh my God, this is already getting exciting.
Yes, bro. With the 1 million waste bin project, you would enjoy improved solid waste collection,
Easy access to complaint services.
quick response to complaint, easy and convenient means of payment.
What am I waiting for?
What are you waiting for? Get ready to grab your free share of waste bins now.
Welcome back. I'm looking for my pen. Okay. Not this pen. I was holding another one, isn't it? Ah, yeah, sorry. It's in my pocket. Sorry, viewers, sorry. I really love pens. If you want to buy me a gift, you buy me a pen. I like this pen. There's a young gentleman in the studio who has a lot of history. Don't forget, the NAPO files are coming up. A young man in the studio has a lot of history. He's our son and our dear friend. He's the SRC president of the University of Cape Coast, but he also happens to be the son of the Minister for Zongo Development, the Honorable Mustafa Hamid. So, Honorable Junior, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, is Daddy.
He's fine.
Do you call him the old man? He's not old, though. You can't call him the old man.
He has a common name. I'm sure we all know the common name.
Abochi.
Abochi.
Okay, so I'm going to talk to him about what's happening in Kivas because he's the leader of the Students' Representative Council over there. And they have issues with the e-learning, so we want to hear him out. And when you hear the way he articulates, you will not be surprised the stable that he's coming from. Before then, though, the other day I was having a chat with my producer, and we were wondering whether we shouldn't have a segment of Good Evening Ghana for funny videos. Because sometimes you see videos on social media, Facebook, and they are terribly funny, and you want to share with other people. So I was thinking, shouldn't we do something on Thursdays and say funny videos and let people send us funny videos and we put it in, edit it, calibrate it nicely, and share it for the relaxation of our viewers. So we're thinking about that. But this is one video that you have to laugh at. Because here's a man who has perfected the way in which President Akufo-Addo delivers the address, the COVID-19 address, how President Akufo-Addo delivers it. It's 14 seconds long. We'll loop it for you to see. Have a look at this very creative young man.
Fellow Ghanaians, from the Accra Municipality, Tema Municipality, Greater Kumasi Municipality, there will be a total lockdown for 1 month, subject to fellow Ghanaians, from the Accra Municipality, Tema Municipality, Greater Kumasi Municipality, there will be a total lockdown for 1 month, subject to fellow Ghanaians, from the Accra Municipality, Tema Municipality, Greater Kumasi Municipality, there will be a total lockdown for 1 month, subject to fellow Ghanaians, from the Accra Municipality, Tema Municipality, Greater Kumasi Municipality, there will be a total lockdown for 1 month, subject to
So which municipality do you reside and where are you watching Good Evening Ghana from? What are they? Chief, so what's the problem between the SRC and the authorities at Kivas?
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to you and your listeners as well. I would not say there is a problem, but the SRC feels that if there is going to be a rollout of an e-learning system or another method for us to engage ourselves whilst we are at home due to this condition that we find ourselves, then those challenges that will come with it, because to me, personally, I feel that this is something new altogether to a Ghanaian student. Maybe the last time I did an online course in UCC was in level 100, far back in level 100. I'm now in level 400. So I may not have that experience or not be so much exposed to this e-learning system. So we were of the view that there will be challenges. That is maybe my challenge, that maybe I may not be able to navigate it properly, like maybe others may also share. There may be challenges like data accessibility, because this time you are doing it from home.
E-learning is not working at Kivas. The e-learning that administration has put in place is not working.
It's not that it's not working, but it has so many challenges. that needs to be looked at before it starts. Otherwise, we may start and then we'll get stuck in the middle if those challenges are not properly
Tell us some of the
addressed.
challenges.
For example, one, most importantly, which the SRC has been articulating most at times, is the provision of data to students. Two,
free data to students.
Yes.
That should be the university's responsibility.
Yes, that should be, because of course
money.
Not money.
But what?
But they can also work to make sure that the platform is zero rated. Maybe you don't need.
Okay, you can do that. The Ministry of Education does that. Yes, yes.
The platform is zero rated.
Yeah.
You can give some amount of data to students. For example, other universities, students are getting some amount of data. I think 5 gig or so for each student to be able to go onto this platform to commensurate or to sympathize with them in the times that we find ourselves due to the difficulties that we may find ourselves and all that, which is in a way meeting the students halfway. For the students to know that even though I'm not in school and I'm at home, the university understands my plight and has supported me a little to be able to go onto this platform and learn. That is what we are asking for. And we are also asking that final year students, for example, like I said, the modalities that were put out did not talk about so many things. That is why we feel that there are so many challenges associated with the e-learning platform. Final year students are supposed to do project work, which comes with some data collections. And looking at the time we find ourselves, movement and all sorts of things have become so difficult. People don't move around freely and all that. So we are saying that the final year students should be allowed to present 10 papers or long essays, which doesn't require collection of data as their final project work. We are also saying that the platform should not have or should not be avenues for quizzes and examinations. Looking at the times that we find
e-learning platform.
Yes.
Okay, so as it is now, where school ended before COVID, you guys, in terms of your academic work, are still there?
Yes,
or
we are still there.
Have you moved? Have you progressed? What's happening with Legon and KNUST, your colleagues?
Okay, for KNUST, I don't really know, but what I picked from a release I saw earlier was that they should take it as a long break. And then I think students without accessibility in KNUST were informed that they can go to the regional study centers and pick up course materials, and then students can also make use, or lecturers should make use of other means to make sure that these course materials that students are supposed to study will be able to reach the students. So that's
all very complicated.
Yes, but I think the Legon situation is better. I saw it today. Legon is going to give their students some amount of data.
This data, so free up the platform or to give them data on their machine laptop. How do you give the data? What's the recommendation?
There is a something we students call data SIM. So it's a SIM card which may originally would not be yours, but will be given to you, which has data on it already. So it's linked to whichever telco's system. So every month you are supposed to be provided 5 gig, every month automatically you get.
Come.
Yes.
And who is paying that? The university?
Yes.
Universities should pay for data for students.
Yes, they should.
Really?
They should.
But why? Why should the university do that?
The university
because students are not on campus.
Students are not. But
yeah,
they've
the
made
utilities that you pay, the university is not getting that money.
Students paid fees before they went home.
Oh, they paid fees before COVID?
Yeah, before COVID.
So the university, you think, is gaining?
I would just say it's in a way you can say the university is gaining because we are not all congregated.
But Kebas, you're about what, 20,000 people?
Yes.
And you want data for the final years only?
Not final years.
The entire school?
Yes.
Who is doing that? Legon is doing that?
Yes, Legon is doing that.
Oh, Legon is doing that?
Yes.
They are giving their students data?
Yes.
By giving them the SIM card?
Yes. So I was told you were supposed to go for the SIM card. If you can't, you would find your own SIM card, go on a certain platform and get that SIM card activated, and then you will enjoy the package. So you don't necessarily need to, maybe if you can't go for it, you can still get any Vodafone SIM card.
If Legon is doing it, then I think I agree with you. KVAS should be able to do it.
KNUST too has been able to sort the data matter.
So is there unrest between the SRC leadership, yourself, and the authorities over this matter?
I wouldn't say there is unrest, but we've made our issues known to them. We've made our issues known to them.
And does the NUCs know about it?
Yes.
National Union of Ghana Students?
Yes. And you know, we asked our students to halt registration initially somewhere about 2 weeks or a week ago. We asked students to halt. And then later...
Registration for school reopening?
No, registration for the online.
For the online, okay.
Yes, because we are of the view that these challenges need to be critically looked at, so that at least 70% of those challenges would be addressed before we roll out, because we didn't want a system whereby we will start and get to the middle and then there will be so many challenges and students will be suffering. something that they should be benefiting or enjoying from, which should have fun, because you know it comes with using your laptop, your phone and all that. It should be fun learning on the internet and all that. But there are so many challenges. So we didn't want us to get to the middle and then get started. We wanted some of the challenges to be addressed concerning the whole...
So the main challenge is the data provision.
Yes, that should be one, and then accessibility. Because
the system working well.
Yes, we have students scattered all over the country.
So currently there's no students on campus?
No, currently there's no students.
You are not allowed to be on campus?
No, you are not allowed.
It's closed.
After the ban on...
So all of you are outside the campus?
All of us.
Most of them out of Cape Coast?
All.
Almost all?
All.
It can't be
back
all.
to wherever, Upper East, Upper West, wherever.
There are not many people stay in Cape Coast, so I can understand.
Yes.
Wow. So what's your mode of communication? How do you talk to the SRC these days?
Well, we have a WhatsApp platform.
But that can only take 200 or something like that.
Yes, but
So
SRC executives are 7, and then we have executive council members. We should number not more than 20.
How do you reach the greater students?
Through these communications. Some of them who also say they are not on WhatsApp and all that, we call, they call and then they've asked, I've heard this, I've not heard that, and we...
So as of now, you don't know what the reopening date is?
Well, the e-learning program is supposed to start tomorrow, 22nd.
That is to say the next semester has started?
The continuation of
the old semester?
Of the second semester of the 2019-2020.
So it started. So the authorities are telling you we are starting?
Yes.
Have you appealed to the Ministry of Education?
That is another level of the matter. That is for the National Union of Ghana Students and other, the mother bodies of all Ghanaian students to do. And that they have done, they have engaged. You realize that NUCS was also in line with what UCC SRC was doing. We were calling for a halt, let's address the issues, and then we begin the program. And then NUCS also, in its first release concerning this whole matter, said there are challenges. They identify so many other issues which should bother the whole of the Ghanaian student community, not just UCC particular. So you realize that their issues were broader. It dealt with student loan and all that. So NUCS said they should halt, they should get the universities to halt and then address the issues before we start. That was what UCC SRC2 was saying. We said, let's halt, address the issues, then we roll out the program. Then later, we had some kind of conversations and assurances from our management in a way, saying that these issues, particularly the data one, will be looked at. So we said, okay, well, if that is a good way to start, then let's get our students to now register whilst we look at resolving the other issues. And then NUCS also had a meeting with the other blocks, USAG, GOOPS, and all that. They had a meeting with the minister in charge of tertiary education. And then they also realized that some concessions will be made in regards to these things. So they are also now saying that, well, students should be allowed to go in a way. So I think that in a way, what we were saying, we've been proven as being right, that there are challenges that need to be addressed before we start.
That's great. We'll be following up for you. What's your nickname in school, by the way?
My nickname, it depends on where you are coming from. The common name is Zaki, but those from Casford call me Yaru.
Oh, you are in Casford?
Yes, I'm a proud Casfordian. I don't joke with Casford.
So they call you Yaru?
Yaru, yes, Yaru.
So you are Yaru Abochi?
Those who know the Abochi to say Abochi, and those who know the Yaru to say Yaru. That's what I'm saying. It depends on where you are coming from. So if I'm working and I hear a shout, I hear Yaru, I know it's a Casfordian. If I hear Abochi, then I know it's someone who knows my dad and I. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Good luck. We'll be following up on this matter. After the break, we will be beginning with the NAPO files, and you need to see it. I'll give you a small gossip before the NAPO files begin. Just a little one about something that we discussed with him. I'll tell you that before we begin. Let's go back to our teaser, see the teaser, and then we'll be back in the studio and roll out the NAPO files. This is Good Evening Ghana is live. So we are broadcasting from the Greater Accra Municipality. Sorry about that. I'm terribly enjoying tonight's production. Thank you to the entire production team. They have made things very smooth for us here tonight. Okay, so we are going to the NAPO tapes, and you should see it. So I asked him a question. I was talking to you about a little gossip that I need to share with you. During my interview, my other famous interview with the Honorable Samuel Kujeto when he turned 82, I think it was, he was telling me in the interview that he had become a Christian sometime when he was in prison. He was imprisoned by Flight Lieutenant Rawlins during the era of the coup d'etat. So he was in jail, and then he met Jesus Christ, and so he became a Christian. Then I asked him the question that, Honorable Samuel Kujeto, when you became a Christian at the age of about 50-something, and you were in prison, what did you stop doing? Of course, he didn't quite answer the question. He says that's not something he wants to talk about. And I said, I understand. So while I was having a conversation with NAPO the other day, I asked him the question. He says he's a Christian, he's a spiritual Christian. And so I said, I don't know. If you're a Christian, what have you stopped doing? And then we both burst out laughing before he answered the question. That's coming up in one of the files later this week or next week. You see that question. Watch out for that one. I'll tell you which production has that one, so you watch out for it. The question to him was, Honorable, you said you're a Christian, you're a spiritual man. Since you became a Christian, what have you stopped doing? He laughed and I laughed, but he answered the question. You see that. Let's go now straight to our makeshift studios in Accra, and we are doing part 1 of the NAPO files. Honorable Minister, so how have you felt at the Ministry of Education? Has it been your dream position that whenever the MPP came to power, you would like to be Minister of Education?
I have never had a dream position in my head ever. I don't believe in that mentality, that you dream that whether you work hard for your party and it comes to power, you are destined to become this. No. I've always believed that let's leave that to the leader of the pack for him to decide who he wants to assist in which position that he deems fit. Besides, our positions, our political positions, they are not positions that needs some technical experience, apart from probably the Attorney General's office. I don't think I see any position in government as technical, political position as technical, meaning you need somebody from that background to do that work. No, I don't think so. The technical class is the civil service, and we have to rely on them.
How did you get to know that you were going to be Minister of Education? So election was on December 7th, 2016. Results were declared by December 10th, but I reckon that with the role that you played by the 9th of December 8th, you were quite aware, and you may have been celebrating with your friends in Ghana and abroad that the MPP has won the election. When did you get to know that you will be Minister of Education?
I got to know when I was formally announced, but behind the scenes, I'd had the indication from His Excellency the President post the Supreme Court case, or just around the delivery of the verdict. If it election petition. If the verdict had gone our way, and I still think it should have gone our way, he indicated to me that I'll be part of the few early announcements and most likely in his mind he thinks that I should assist him in the area of education. So I've known.
So this conversation was 2013?
2013.
I see. After the election petition had been lost?
No, just before the delivery of the judgment.
Oh, so you were hoping that if the judgment on that day had gone
We're
the
not
other
hoping.
way.
We had demonstrated to the world that the election was ours. And we believe that even if you read the judgments of the Supreme Court judges, there's no way, if they are tallied right, it should have gone where it went. But the president and us all supported him, did accept the fact. But before just delivery of judgment time, the president had already indicated firmly, or had an idea, a firm idea of who would go where if the judgment went in the direction it was supposed to go.
So after 2016 had been won, did you sort of remind him that, Mr. President, you had said that there would be an early announcement for education. Can you now do it?
The powers of the president for recall are exemplary. I needed not remind him. Education ministry is not a ministry that a politician would unnecessarily clamor for because of our history, because of the practice, and because of the stark realities around education. And nobody goes jumping for it. But in the time of celebration, where victory had come, and the president had indicated to me when we met, just around that time, that for you, I've not changed my mind. So I knew.
Oh, he said he has not changed his mind, based on the conversation 2 years or 3 years earlier.
Yes, he spoke in the presence of a lot of people, but he spoke directly to me. So between me and him,
he didn't mention what he said. I have not changed my mind. I see.
So nobody understood.
Who then did you inform first after you heard this? Did you call the Asante Hene to tell him? Did you call a constituency chairman?
No, I didn't tell anybody. The first thing that came to my mind that I acted on was to find out who constituted the manifesto team on education. Because I needed them around the table as quickly as possible.
But that wasn't you. You were not part of that.
I was not part of it. I was the chair of the health team for the manifesto.
Oh, I see.
So we did the health manifesto, but then His Excellency had indicated that he wanted me to go into education. So I needed to find out who constituted and how we could get them around the transition team as quickly as possible, so that not only would we be on top of the handing over, my next few tentative steps will be defined by the end of the transitional process.
So who did you call? Who were these people?
Some of the most seasonal or seasoned educationists around the country. Professor Fobi.
Professor Fobi.
Yes. Professor Usiebu Asari from Kivas. Professor Sause Nyako, Kivas. Mr. Yosua. Reverend Afoble, both of them being former director generals and things like that. And some young people who had served as secretaries and things, but they had a solid manifesto team with a very, very knowledgeable background in education.
I see. And the rest, as they say, is history?
We are still on the stage.
Before you attended Parliament, were you aware that free SHS, the flagship policy, was going to begin now?
Before 2008, it had been a manifesto. It had been the main theme, a main drive of our 2008 campaign.
Oh, as far as an 8?
2008.
Before 12?
Yes. Actually, 12, it was not as accentuated or highlighted as 2008. And I happened to be in Parliament for the 2008 period, where we lost, 2009 to 2012. In Parliament, I'd worked with some of those who eventually were the manifesto writers very, very closely. And that discussion had gone on amongst us as to how were they thinking of funding the free tertiary, free secondary education if we had come to power. So people like Professor John Balfour and Professor Fobi, who were both in Parliament at that time, were both resource material for the manifesto. So they even shared handwritten documents with me at that time. And at that time, I was voraciously reading everything. So it was for my knowledge purposes and for my ability to go on air and talk about my party and how Ghanaians have lost out.
Minister, when COVID-19 started, did you anticipate that it will disrupt the education calendar the way it has?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
You knew it would be a long journey?
I knew it would we'll be moving in uncharted waters. I knew it would redefine our social systems going forward forever.
Forever?
Forever. I knew the impact would be assessed years down the line and said, this is the year education came into 21st century.
Oh, I see. That's
this is because we're going to change everything.
You have to change everything?
Everything. Look, in UK, even during the wartime, schools were not closed.
Second World War?
Yes.
Schools were not closed?
Schools were not closed.
Really? I don't believe that.
Okay.
Schools were running in London when Hitler was bombarding Bristol.
Schools were not closed as they've been closed now.
Oh, I see.
The first time. So things have changed forever. Now, all over the world, and you have friends all over, you ask which country educational system is not going online or doing e-learning.
Sweden is going to school though.
Yeah, but now they are doing e-learning. Across the world.
So there's a big migration from physical teaching to online.
To online.
Virtual.
Virtual. And it's going to stay so for a very long time.
People will not go to school.
No, I didn't say people will not go to school.
The
dramatic shift is moving from people going into physical structures and into distance education and online education.
But
let me give you the evidence.
That's going to break the commandery that
let me give you the evidence. It's not really true, right? It's not true. After the Second World War, they started Open University in UK to bring education to the doorstep of everybody.
Yeah.
And especially those who cannot physically go to school because there are no structures. And they say the rest is history. 60 years, 70 years down the line, Open University is licensed in probably over 100 countries. Some of the largest universities are through distance education. Phoenix University in the US is probably the second most popular system that has developed online and distance education than anywhere else. They've managed to instill quality into distance education, which is the single biggest challenge with virtual education or virtual teaching or distance education. How do you ensure that is the person who is purportedly undergoing that process or that program is the one you are giving the certificate to, a recognition of certificates. But Open University has been a success, 60 years.
Okay.
And so when COVID hit, before COVID, we in education have already started thinking of how we're going to migrate. And you need a lot of pieces to be in place. Thankfully, because we had started the thinking about 2 years before, we had made certain active steps, taking certain active steps to ensure that we position ourselves for 21st century learning. When the president gave the edict that we should roll out online education and other education so that education doesn't stop. A week before, he said that we had already set up a committee involving the universities and Ghana Education Service on how we can conduct ourselves should it happen.
At which levels? Tertiary or secondary school?
Tertiary and secondary, pre-tertiary.
To roll out virtual at secondary schools?
Yes. As we speak, all the curricula, all the learning, all the material available in secondary education is available online.
Who teaches online?
We have seasoned teachers who are rolling out the education.
So you go on the computer and you go on a page and you see the teacher?
You see.
He has recorded teaching lessons to a camera?
And it was something that had been set in motion for 5-6 years.
So the format is that the teacher has recorded to the camera?
Yes.
With a whiteboard, a blackboard with him or her?
Every process possible.
Virtual, without any students
Virtual.
in front of him. He said that if you're doing least common denominator, this is how you do it.
Yes.
How does he take questions? He anticipates questions.
Learning, they're all difficulties. So it's not only what is on the teaching. There's also an assessment system that you go through to practice your questions and answers and support how you can get it. There's also virtual laboratories to be able to conduct experiments virtually. It's on the Ghanaian system. So a lot of tools and open educational resources that are relevant to our situation have been pulled together from Ghana Education Service, Ghana Library Authority, Center for Distance Learning Education, pulled it together and are offering it to the Ghanaian children through GBC open channels. DSTV has scrambled some channels for us. GoTV has scrambled channels. Vodafone and MTN has zero-rated educational content that we have given them so that students can interact without costing data.
So on your phone, on a student's phone, you can look at those.
There's iCampus.
And there's no data?
Yeah.
Or it's little data?
It doesn't cost. It's zero-rated. So
when you are on that page?
Yes, when you are using those tools that we have, content that we have made available. They are doing that for the universities as well. So the multinational telecom companies are supporting big time. GTV gave us a channel. Other people have made their studios available that we are recording. And we are recording. We want to put all our curriculum, all our teaching resources for teachers, for students, online.
So the students who left Presec at COVID time, or St. Peter's, or Prempeh College, Wesley Girls, Laboni Secondary School, who is at home now, what is he doing?
We've invited them to log on and create.
What is the site? What is it called?
iCampus.
iCampus. So
yes.
You go on what? Google Play Store?
Store, everywhere. Just Google it. iCampus. You go there and you are allowed access. When you get entry.
Did they ask your name or school?
Yes, you have to input your name and all those things, the registration form.
School number?
We don't have school numbers.
Just your name?
Your name,
so
your date of birth and things like that. But we do cross-reference because we have data.
Yeah.
Now, for secondary school, we have data to the last student. So we want not to break the educational system. The junior
So senior secondary school should get on that system and they can see.
They are. And GTV is also broadcasting for the
Okay, so those who don't have computers.
Yes, GTV is
GTV at a certain time.
Yes.
And it's broadcasting it to them. So they sit in front of GTV and they are learning.
And also for KG to junior high school, they were left with a week to go on their break. So literally they are on their break. And school reopens on the 4th of May. By 4th of May, all their learning should be up and available on TV and online.
For KG, class 1, class 2, up to GSS 3.
GSS 3. So all of a sudden, we'll have all our curricula, e-books, open educational resource materials, virtual laboratories on the systems. That is one. But that is not the end. We still do know that in certain areas, right, there are no computers.
And no
when
TVs,
you look at the penetration of mobile telephony, it's probably nearly 180% or over 200%. So we are encouraging parents to assist their children because it's not going to cost you data. We have Vodafone or MTN to be able to allow your kids support your child to learn for a period of 2-3 hours a day on the system to support so that we don't have a total break from education. Almost all the universities have learning management systems. Somewhere like KNUST, when they opened it up, 30,000 students were on, even though they have 64,000 students. And again, not every student will go on the same time, at the same time. So they are coping. And even though it's a science and technology university, they've been able to have everything, including medicine, virtual. So
your SS students haven't lost anything? Is that a point you're making?
I'm not saying, of course, their psyche is used to teacher in front of you.
Yes, but are they ready for exams?
What I'm saying is the exams were supposed to start in April.
Okay.
So in most of the SSS schools, the final years were doing revision and academic
so
support.
the exams have been announced as having been cancelled?
Suspended.
Suspended.
Yes.
Now, this is also an important year for you, for your political policy of free SHS, because this is your first batch of free SHS are now going into tertiary system. You would have had a difficulty anyway because you enrolled more numbers. Now you have a more complicated problem. Do you have a plan for the exams? Are they going to have the exam? They won't have the exams. What is the plan for pre-tertiary?
You mean for
final year students?
Year, okay.
Yeah.
We have 2 exam batches. We have B, C. We have to also, we're supposed to write the exams and come to secondary school,
yes.
senior high school. We have senior high school final year students who are supposed to write an exam, albeit in an international exam, to place it in secondary schools.
Into universities?
Into universities. 2 things. The exam is suspended because the whole of West Africa, those who subscribe to WAEC, are down and out with COVID.
Yeah.
So WAEC cannot write the exams or conduct the exams in Ghana because it's an international exam conducted across everything. So that is a problem. So even if the kids are in school, the exams are suspended.
Yes.
So there's no need for them to get back to school. Okay. So we are already in talks with WAEC. That if it so happened, and in certain states, they've cancelled this year's off, in UK, they are decided a priori that they're not going to have A-levels this year. So in Ghana, it affects those who are doing private A-levels, the AS levels and baccalaureate. It affects them as well.
Yes.
It affects all of them.
So schools in Ghana that are doing the GCE, it's cancelled.
It's cancelled.
Yeah.
So what is going to happen? In Ghana, we believe that if we can get out of COVID, whereas other countries have not, we can engage WAEC to do a Ghana exam.
For your SS3?
For SS3, to grant them entrance into the universities. But the universities themselves must close their ear, the students in the final year, to get them out to create space. And COVID has also affected them.
Yeah, they have to close their ear, yeah. But that's easy because it's one university.
It's not easy.
Centralized.
It's not easy.
It's not national.
What I'm saying is that even though University of Ghana is University of Ghana, University of UDS, all the universities open around the same time.
Yes, but University of Ghana can
so
conduct
University of Ghana
for the final year people. They can have their exams for final year.
For their students in University of Ghana. That's what I'm saying. But still, the exit should affect everybody. University of Ghana should find a way of exiting.
Yes.
The only university that is doing three terms is UDS. How do they complete their year? UHAS. So, till they complete their year, can you see yourself only University of Ghana operating?
It's available, yeah. All investments are available.
It must be available. So, our planning should be well thought through and organized. So, we have a committee of vice chancellors and Professor Salifu from NCT, Minister of State, Ghana Education Service, thinking through, one, what sort of assessment system are we going to use to be able to admit students? If all the universities are free for admission and COVID is around, and WAEC has not been able to do an exam, how do the kids go to university? So it's a huge, and the thinking is ongoing.
Yeah.
The thinking is ongoing. We do know that WAEC collects for years, every exam, 30% of the results is from continuous assessment.
Of the students?
Of the students. 30%.
But that 30% is given to WAEC by the school?
Yes.
So Presec gives us 30% record of its students to WAEC?
But they've been collecting it.
But you trust that? Is there integrity there?
We must learn to trust something in the world.
Okay, all right.
We must learn to trust something.
Because we are competing against each other.
We cannot be so cynical and skeptical like we are in this country.
When you look at the record, do you find any school showing bad results at 30%?
The records don't come to the Ministry of Education or Ghana Education Service.
It goes to the WAEC?
It goes to WAEC. Fortunately, this year, the records were already with WAEC.
So WAEC has 30% performance of each candidate.
What do they do? They take it through some statistical standardization to be able to use it for their 30%. And they've been doing that for years.
So they work on it?
They work on it. They work on it.
Without the schools that have sent it?
Without the schools that have sent it. It's an internal process.
If you send them Paul Adom-Otchere score for 30% in physics, and you score him 95, WAEC's standardization, statistical standardization could bring 95 to 75.
Can bring it to 65. It can bring it to 62.
And they won't tell Presec?
No. They have never told any school. So it's just that it's 30%.
So
what I'm trying to say is
the
that
Presec candidate knows that he's going into the exam In physics, his 30% is 95, but it's actually 65.
I'm saying, WAEC, for the last all these years, put their assessment that they collect from the schools through a statistical standardization method. That allows them to use those results as 30% of the final exams.
Okay.
It is not going to start now.
They've been doing it.
They've been doing
and that is already available.
It's available.
To
it's available
submitted
to
by the schools.
Submitted by the
based
schools.
on candidates' performance.
And the schools did not submit it now that COVID. You are writing to the schools to submit. Where you can say because of that they are punching. And the schools know that the raw results that they sent to them are not being used so moto.
Okay.
It has to go through a sort of statistical analysis. Your school, you have your past records as well with WAEC. They know how your school has performed the last 50 years. It's not going to dramatically in 1 year
change. They could with a new headmaster who is
1 year. It's still 1 year. Education, things don't happen like that. The miracles don't come that way. What I'm trying to say is that they use a methodology that they've used for years. It could be made better, it could be made worse, but it is applicable to everybody. It's fair. I'm not designing it, I'm not involved. What I'm saying is that if we could get the assessment result out of that, we can use that assessment result as a proxy for a student's behavior in the last 3 years in school. Right? If we could use that, the universities can admit based upon that assessment. Right? And then allow everybody to do first university exam, which some universities are doing now.
So you admit on the 30%?
You admit on the 30%, because that is the only assessment available to all Ghanaians.
And on the basis of 30%, somebody gets an admission to the medical school?
That's what I'm saying, if you listen carefully. Then the university can do first university exams. Now, when you go to University of Ghana, you're not admitted straight to the medical school.
No.
So,
you go to biological sciences, physical sciences, arts.
And it has worked for years. We haven't had a problem. So we can do it for sciences, for arts, and for business.
So you go to KNUST, you are a science student?
Yes, a science student.
But you're not electrical engineering?
You're not electrical.
You're not civil, you're not computer science?
Yes.
You're not agri science?
After your first university exam, then you are put in the right place.
So the first year, what are you doing? You're learning the basics?
You're learning the basics of science.
Which they do anyway.
That is the only thing they do anyway.
They do, yeah. It cuts across.
Medical school, when I went to medical school, our first years were virtually borrowed courses. Went to biological science, went to chemistry, went to pharmacy. We learned it from everywhere. But we went through automatically. But in Legon, you have to be then ranked before some go to medical school.
Sometimes go to interviews.
And sometimes they do interviews. So it's nothing new. The universities conduct it. So, but I'm saying that the results is the same, that every university can then admit. And based upon what they want to do, either first university exams or admit straight, you are not disfavoring any candidate. You're not disfavoring any candidate.
The candidates that don't get admission, for what reason will they not get admission? That their 30% was bad?
No, it is not their 30% that was bad again.
Their university exam?
Their results couldn't allow them.
The entrance university exam?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. So Legon is going to conduct its own exam?
No, Legon is not going to conduct its own.
The Ghana Education Service is putting
Ghana Education Service is not conducting exam.
Why?
WAEC is bringing out assessment results for the whole country.
For 30%?
Not for 30%. Paul, get it right.
So 30% plus entry exam?
No.
Okay.
Let me go through again.
Yeah.
The status quo now is that your results that you get, the results is 30 plus 70. That's the weights that they've given you. That 30 is from your continuous assessment.
Yeah.
Right? If your 70% is not there, that 30% can be used as a proxy.
Yeah. To represent the 100.
To represent the 100. So the results you are giving is your 100% results, not your 30 or 70.
Okay, I get it.
You get my point?
Yeah.
And it's the same for everybody in Ghana.
Yeah.
So you are not favoring one candidate or the other. Right?
Yeah.
And so you can get entrance. The university can select their students based upon that.
On those results.
Upon those results. And then they can then decide that we will conduct first university exams based upon what we are talking about. Because they already have an experience in doing that. Now your A-level, your WASI result that you take to Legon, it's not what will let you go to medical school.
For Legon, yeah.
So why can't it be generally applied?
But for a candidate who was looking at somebody.
Because you can't predict your results.
I'm looking at a very difficult person suing you.
I'm not sure.
Because for a candidate who
we will
that,
not be deterred from doing what is right.
I understand.
Irrespective of.
But for a candidate who knows that,
How do you
I
know?
already have submitted 30%, but I'm
The
going to write
candidates
an
don't
exam.
know. The candidates, you see.
No, they've submitted a 30%.
Already, the teachers do it. It's gone.
Yes, he knows that's gone, but he's not worried about that, even though that may be bad, because he knows he has an opportunity to kill it in the 70%.
I'm not sure about what you're saying.
But if that's 30 and this 70,
I'm not sure about nobody. If you want to stay and do the exam the following year, it's still up to you. You still do have private candidates.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Okay, so
in Britain,
this is a public emergency.
The public emergency.
Yeah.
In Britain, what have they decided to do?
They've cancelled the A levels.
And then what?
I don't know. What are they doing?
Yes, they are using an assessment of their predicted results. They also have a.
Oh, they have that, but that's stronger. Predicted.
No, the schools are doing an assessment.
Okay.
So you give your assessment of the candidate also to your examination body.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They are going to admit people, give results to people based upon the assessment alone.
So an extrapolation.
Extrapolation. Because we are in
For the public emergency.
Yeah, those times.
Some are going to benefit more than others.
In every situation, in this COVID, those who sell food increase their prices 3 times.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfair as it might be.
I see.
That is the human nature.
What about nurses training? Is it the same? Teacher training colleges?
The assessment is going to be for all WASI students.
This is quite interesting. So then they get to university and then, so you're going to ask every university to do an exam.
What I'm saying, what I'm telling you now is not finalized.
I know.
The committee is meeting daily, virtually.
But you are assuring parents that the ministry is very much on top of this.
The ministry has plans. If it should so happen that all the countries are still COVID lockdown, we would, and we are free, we could ask WAEC to conduct an exam for Ghana.
If in June we are out of COVID, do you have, what is your worst case?
The exam should have finished by June.
So your worst case scenario
the WASI people should have finished by 4th June.
Writing the exam?
Writing the exams.
So your worst case scenario is July?
My worst case scenario is we opening schools now. And what do we do?
So when we cross this week, you are in your worst case scenario?
Yes. What I mean by worst case scenario then is that, okay, the kids should be writing exams now.
Yeah, they are not.
They are not. But
that's JSS.
JSS will do it 1 week in June. SSS will start in April and end up in 4th of June. Now, what has happened? We've opened schools, say in a week's time.
No, from now. So in a week's time, your calendar would have been reopened. Yeah.
Yes. But when you reopen now,
but you cannot reopen a week from now.
That's what I'm saying. I'm giving an example.
Okay.
A week from now, the president says schools should go back. We should have a FAC mechanism. Because who is going back to do what? All has to be planned. And I'm saying that if for the final year students, West Africa is still locked down, WAEC cannot conduct their WASI exams, then we have to engage WAEC national.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is, July, you are still in COVID.
That's what I'm saying. I've told you scenario 1.
Yeah.
If we cannot write exams, we can use assessments as proxy. Scenario 2, we can write exams, but not as West Africa, as only Ghana. So we will ask WAEC to conduct a Ghana exam for us. That will be used for entrance exams.
That's interesting.
Scenario 3, the whole West Africa, you can conduct exams. So you can conduct WASI. So the students have to go and do the WASI.
That's the best case scenario.
That's the best case
Suspension is lifted.
Yes.
For all of West Africa.
For all of West Africa. Which seems
unlikely.
Unlikely.
Yeah.
So I have to sit and plan with my technical team on the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario for mass assessments. And then ask the universities. That is the only test available, results available for you. So pick your candidates and do first university exam.
But the universities will still have to exit their final years.
Yes, they will still have
to. Is that also a concern for the ministry?
It's a huge concern. Why?
Are you advising them on what to do?
We have a committee standing. It is not easy because some universities virtually had finished.
Yes, I understand KNUST were just 2 weeks away.
Yes.
So they need another 2 weeks and they are fine.
Yes, but some have 3 months, 4 months to go.
To finish university?
Yes.
To finish the academic
They're going
year?
to start the third term.
From March?
Yes. They're going to start their third term and finish in June like everybody else.
Is KNUS not also finishing in June?
KNUS does semesters.
Okay. So in the semester you have
the
2 weeks for rehearsal.
18, 16 weeks. Semester is, term is 12 weeks and things like that. So where some people were coming to start their third term and finish, KNUST was just about writing mid-semesters and after that do their exams. So that is the difference. So we will have to plan it globally for the whole nation, for nobody to be unfavorably skewed.
That's a job to do with a lot of uncertainties.
But that is the job of the Ministry of Education. We don't deal with only complicated matters. We deal with complex matters as well.
But it's uncertain. So, okay, so worst case scenario.
Uncertainty.
So worst case scenario is that everyone repeats the year.
No.
That's
worst
part
case
of your
scenario. No. Worst case scenario is that we're going to use an assessment as a proxy for final results.
But universities must exit their people.
Yes. That's the point.
So they cannot do that.
When
you may have your candidates ready, but
when I was, but it's different. We are talking about the assessment.
Okay.
Entrance into the university. When we're going into the university, we're supposed to enter tech in September '87. Because of our
from sixth form.
Straight from sixth form, June. Because of Aluta, we didn't enter tech, or no university opened.
What is Aluta? The young people
demonstrations.
Students' misbehavior.
Students' demonstrations.
Students' misbehavior.
Students' excitements.
Okay.
Unbridled excitements.
Now you don't like Aluta, do you?
I'm not against Aluta.
But you're the Minister of Education. Aluta will be
I'm
against
not against Aluta.
But Aluta
if you're a democratic person,
yeah, but Aluta
if you're a
will be
democratic person, you have to understand that as part of the whole ethos of Ghana Education Service, is not only to provide functional and productive citizens, but to ensure that they can advance democracy.
Yes, but Aluta
and
now,
one of the tenets of democracy is if I disagree with you, I should be able to be allowed to protest. Right. It doesn't mean...
So you welcome Aluta?
I don't welcome, I don't dislike, I don't disengage. It's the person's choice.
But you did Aluta?
Lots of it.
And you say it's unbridled students something?
Yes, excitement.
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 Yeah, but the Nooks will not be happy with that comment.
Unbridled... Before you go, people misunderstand. Unbridled student excitement, what is negative about that phrase?
It means that they don't have a principle. They're getting excited.
Unbridled, not unprincipled.
Unbridled means
because
that...
during our looters, let me give you an example. During our looters, people go off tangents.
Yeah, there will be, yeah.
Where the leadership has no clue.
Yeah.
Look at KNUST. It started as a student-led, union-led protestation.
Against the conversion of halls.
Against the conversion of halls. But look at how it ended.
Yeah. Okay.
Burnings.
Yeah, because authority was resisting it.
Burnings.
Yeah.
You get my point. You don't hope that we did continuous Aluta about 6 times.
And this Aluta then meant that you couldn't go to university. Students were closed
before
down.
us.
Yes.
But even before us, right, we didn't used to do 6th form service.
Yes, I heard that. I heard that.
It was because universities were closed for nearly a year that we came to do 6th form service.
Because instead of government keeping you guys at home, they said, okay, come and be useful.
Yes.
Okay.
So you finished your A-level, you went out, but you did a service before you went to university, and after university you did another service.
So before, the service was only after university?
It was only after university.
Okay, but now, by the time I grew up, A-level was... Yeah.
Now we don't have A-level. Now we don't have
that system anymore.
We don't have that system. But conceivably, if our educational system is shut down, we can bring back service.
National service after SSC.
After SSC.
Which will be great.
So that
maybe
the universities, the students can continue and you can do your 6th form service. Those who want to better their results can better it.
Yeah, you can do your SSC service where you can teach. You can be useful as a clerk at the Ministry of Education, Ghana Education Service.
But SSS students are teaching primary school and...
Yes, I mean, you can even teach SS1. Yes. You can teach. Yes. You can teach anywhere. Yes. So that's part of the scenario.
We think about that.
If you have to shut down for entire year, then let us introduce this.
Yes.
But you're going to pay them allowances.
We have to. The country has to find a way. We never thought
you're going to organize postings for them.
We never thought.
National service is going to be busy.
We never thought as a country we were going to give 50% rebate for 3 months in electricity.
As ministers, or as electricity?
We never thought that we will come 2020 and say 3 months free water because of COVID. We never thought. COVID has put us in situations that we never even could contemplate 3 weeks before COVID.
The private schools in Ghana, the secondary schools, are they under the Ministry of Education? Are they under your watch?
The Ministry of Education supervises all education in this country, in that broad terms. And it's also responsible for public education itself.
Because they are not under Ministry of Education, they may not have a policy of what to do with the third term. So some are deciding to close, some are deciding to charge 50% school fees discount. All kinds of conversations are going on among the private schools, especially in Accra, the elite schools and the not so elite schools. Will the ministry have any role to play, given the public emergency, and some direction on these matters?
It's easy. Well, Paul, let me give you a scenario. Some schools pay $10,000 a term or more a term in this Accra. You, Paul, elected yourself to take your children to that school. Because of a circumstance, that school is going into virtual teaching. And the authorities of the school are now saying, don't pay 10,000, pay 9,500, which in a sense is 5% discount. You now say you're running to government to do what? Government has a moral responsibility, not only for the parent, not only for the kid, but also for the school and that business of the school.
Because that school is a business, it must make profit.
Even if it's not for profit,
Yeah.
it must be sustainable.
Sustainable, yeah.
Right? So if the school uses 90% of the
Its resources
in paying teachers, and when the teachers are on vacation or break because of COVID, the teachers are still being paid. The parent protesting that because the child is being taught virtually, I should pay 50%, is saying that the school should cut that teacher's salary by 50%.
Because you mean the teacher is still teaching?
The teacher is still teaching.
And Ministry of Education is
I'm just drawing around it. So if you necessarily say you are coming to Ministry of Education, we would have to examine that case on case-by-case basis and come up with a rationale for either telling parents continue paying because they elected to pay, or telling school reduce. Is that government interference in the private affairs of somebody?
That's interesting. You said two things that are interesting. The last one, whether government will be interfering if it does that, and number two, that it's a private school and it's a choice to take the child there.
The Constitution in Article 25(2) talks about any individual or group of persons at their own expense establishing and maintaining any educational institution at any level as the law allows.
But
So,
do you look at these private schools? Do you look into what they do, like curricula, like how they are organized? Is it part of your?
when you look at the laws, if you establish a private school as of now, they used to go to Ghana Education Service to get permits, aside the district assembly officers to operate. And that means that it is not free to just go and establish. You must follow certain principles or certain conditions and criteria. I find it really, really offensive that we will live in this country and we will allow a private school to set up and not follow any Ghanaian course or curricula. So they set it up and they don't talk about Ghana history, they talk about history of the US. They don't discuss anything Ghanaian. These foreign schools, everywhere where education has gone, it has to be culturally accepted. It has to be customarily accepted. Would you allow your kids, some would say it's a choice, to go to a school that they learn nothing Ghanaian about? I don't think it's right.
So you're saying
I think that the conditions and the criteria, yes, you can follow a certain curriculum, which we agree with, but it is also obligatory on you to do certain Ghanaian things.
even if the majority of the children there are children of
I
expatriates?
don't think any country allows that. I want an example.
So the expatriate children, when they come to Ghana, their parents are working here. They must learn the history of Ghana. They must learn about Kwame Nkrumah.
I thought when we said if you go to Rome,
you do what the Romans do.
It's the curricula that you are following, but localizing the curricula is also part of the thing. So if you come to school in Ghana, you should know your presidents.
Know your ministers, know everything. So that if you're an American child...
You should know Ghana's flag, and you should know our national anthem.
Okay. So American child comes to Ghana, stays in Ghana for the period that his parents are working in Ghana from age 7 to 17. By the time he's 37 as a congressman, he should be able to say that I studied in Ghana, and I know Prime Minister Buzia, I know this about Ghana. Ghana has 16 regions. I was in Ghana when election 2020 was conducted. That's what you want the school to do.
That is the whole point about education, a reflection on the way of life.
I see. So in the future, Ministry of Education will be looking at things like that.
I think that it had already started before we got into office. We have to make our regulatory institutions have a bit more teeth. I don't think that it's Ghana Education Service, that is a public implementer of our education, be the licensee or give licenses to private schools. It has to go to a regulatory body that will ensure fairness to everybody. And since 2008, those regulatory bodies have been set in law, but we are allowing them space now to act.
So that was first part of our NAPO series. It's 5 parts. On Thursday, there's a part that talks about elections, and he had a long conversation with us about the elections 2020, voters register, voters registration exercise, how elections have gone over the past so many years, and why he feels that his party has suffered from electoral malpractices. He made the point that the NPP and its antecedents have suffered from electoral malpractices. On Thursday, we'll show you that. That's Good Evening Ghana. Tonight, I was just reading the Facebook comments that's coming on the program. Very, very interesting comments. Thanks for watching, and good night.